This is a rude awakening to the SEC and to all of its teams in it. You are no longer the dominant conference in college football.
So, Tim, I mean, just to your point there on how you ended, are you saying that Arch Manning can play better than Quinn Ewers, but Texas still not make the playoff? Or, or did our Texas fans, get to you a couple years ago because they had some harsh things to say? And that's not like you, Timmy.
Timmy B bows to no man.
No, they are always overrated, and that's so. Get ready here. It's lighting up.
Okay, good, Timmy B. Thanks for joining us. That's all we needed right now.
Generally speaking, they're always going to be overrated. And with Alabama down, and Alabama is down, that isn't to say that they might not be on a positive arc come the start of this season because there are less expectations. But everyone's in the business of hyping the team that's going to sell the most magazines, get the most clicks, all of that, and Texas does it. So they're victims of their own brand, and that happens all the time. It just happens all the time. I think Arch Manning is going to be a better quarterback at both the collegiate level and the pro level than Quinn Ewers. That's my belief. Ewers was definitely effective. He did play hurt. He was tough, but he was not always healthy. And I think that sometimes is a problem and probably the reason why he dropped all the way to the Miami Dolphins late in the draft. But the reality is this, it's still a team game. And Texas has issues that warrant concern. And I'm echoing your concern about that. I am. But I think it won't be because of Arch Manning. It's easy. The easy punditry here, which you hear all the damn day, all the damn night, when they're re-airing these godforsaken Embrace debate shows, is Arch Manning is the difference. Or Arch Manning was overhyped. He's really not that good. It's one or the other. There's no gray area. See, I think there is gray area. The gray area is I think Manning is every bit as good as all those that were in his corner felt, but I don't think that Texas as a team is as good. And against that schedule. All those games that were at home that played in their favor, now they have to go on the road, and that's what makes it more difficult. I see LSU as the team that's going to boomerang with the schedule and with the personnel that's been brought in. No one's done better in the portal than Brian Kelly this past year in the SEC. And for that reason, I think they're going to be really good. I'm right there with you on Florida. I don't think that 8-4 is a bad year against the schedule they got to play against this year. But they might improve upon that. They could. But Georgia, Ole Miss, these teams are all really good. And Tennessee's really good. So you add all of that up, and it's just harder for any team to negotiate and be dominant in the Southeastern Conference. This is a rude awakening to the SEC and to all of its teams in it. You are no longer the dominant conference in college football. You are the dominant conference in college basketball. You are not. I repeat, not in college football. And you'll see this year how the pendulum has continued to swing away from the SEC in terms of dominance. Could their back end, second half of the league, still be the part of the league that gives them added depth? And for that reason, they can say, look at us. Our back end is stronger than yours. Yeah, sure. But in today's world, when it's all about winning national championships, when it's all about playing for national championships, those days of winning 7 out of 8 and having 8 teams in successive years playing for the national championship, that's over. Over. Why? Because you don't have 4 anymore. You have 12. You'll soon have 16. It's going to be more difficult. Big 10 has improved. Big 12 is going nowhere. It's still really, really good. Not great, but really, really good. And there are a lot of competitive teams from a matchup standpoint that are out there. The Arizona State story of a year ago, it still pisses me off how much they were overlooked. There are going to be teams like that again this season, and it's going to make it more difficult for Texas.
Starting this podcast, to be honest with you, at the beginning, it felt somewhat overwhelming. You have setup, filming schedule, logos, all types of stuff. We were trying to figure it all out. Like we found out when you're launching something, you need to have a to-do list that grows daily. threatening to take over your life. We all know that feeling. And finding a tool that both helps and simplifies can be a game changer. Now, for millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. See, Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide and 10% of all U.S. e-commerce. At Shopify, they're behind everyone from big names like Gymshark to that new name brand that you may have just discovered. Because starting out is simple. Just pick one of their hundreds of templates and customize it to match your style. No design skills needed. And creating content, that's where the AI really shines. Need product descriptions or catchy headlines? Done. You want better product photos? They've got you covered on that as well. But the best part is how easy marketing becomes. You can reach your customers wherever they are, whether they're scrolling through social media feeds or checking their email, because behind the scenes, Shopify handles everything else. Inventory, shipping, returns, all those details you don't have to worry about to keep the main thing the main thing. Because the truth is, if you're ready to sell something, Shopify is ready for you. Hit that button, David. Let me hear it. When you hear that, good stuff's happening. All right, that's like when the Vikings used to blow the horn after wins. It's the same exact feeling. So sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Crain. That's shopify.com/CRAIN. Shopify.com/Crain. Hit it one more time, David. Hit that beautiful bugle. Congrats, we rich, y'all.
I have one more question on Quinn Ewers that I don't want to forget, but I wasn't ready for
Yeah.
that last statement on the SEC. So do you guys want to respond on the
Well, I
Southeastern
think
Conference?
Tim's making a nuanced point. I don't think Tim is saying that all of a sudden now the Big Ten is going to win 7 in a row. I think what he's saying is there is no more super dominant conference that can go on these dynastical runs like we used to have.
Right.
And I agree with that. It's what I said about Nick Saban and Alabama. Now, if we're going to look at periphery things, if we're going to look at if you wanted to go by everything outside of how many national championships you win in a row, I think the SEC still is going to lead the way. But I actually agree with because when people hear the SEC is no longer the super dominant conference, the first thing that other people think is, oh, well, somebody must have replaced them. I don't think that's what Tim's saying. I think, I agree with him, and that's what we've some of us have been talking about for a while. Is that I don't think anybody can ever dominate the way that Nick Saban dominated Alabama. Like anymore with the way it is, not just because of the 12 team that'll be a 16 team that God knows what it'll be in 5 years, but because of NIL and the transfer portal. That's why I've always argued.
So you're saying they were so dominant that they could be less dominant and still dominate the sport?
Well, again, and we always have this argument of like, how do you define domination?
And
right?
that's the question we always ask.
If it's national championships, I think it's going to be spread decently even. Caveat between the Big Ten and the SEC. Maybe a Big 12 team could sneak in there and win one down the road. We'll see. No disrespect. The ACC, they're just the rich kid's son who gets invited to the party because his dad's the mayor of the city.
I mean, would you say the SEC is the most talented conference?
I'd say it's the most successful, Blaine. I'd say it's the most successful conference. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it has been.
I
okay?
get from it. Yeah,
and,
I get what he's
and
saying.
and success is from what? From having outstanding talent year in and year out for long periods of time, which the SEC has. But the days of domination that Uncle Vern was calling with Gary and Spencer and I were in the studio and the SEC was on CBS, those days are over. They're over. Not going to happen that way anymore because those other leagues are better. And yeah, by the way, the Big Ten is richer. It is richer than the SEC. Is it more talented? No. Is it more successful? No. But is it trending in the right direction? Yes, it really is. And we've seen that. And don't think that, look, wins like the national championship for Ohio State matter. But let me tell you something. In the Big Ten, they don't give a damn how depleted Alabama was when Michigan kicked their ass coming off a 6-5 season.
I heard they were full
and
strength,
going into that bowl
that's
game. The bottom line is, no one's gonna cry for sympathy and pity when they beat Alabama. You're still beating Alabama, okay? And it didn't matter to Michigan people whether they had been fortunate enough to get to 6-5 or get a sixth win to go into that game with Ohio State and then beat them and get to 7 wins and then have a shot at Alabama again. That game was very meaningful, not just for Michigan, but for the rest of the Big Ten, because Alabama, the story will still be the SEC. Why? Because of the media domination of the worldwide leader, who will continue with its propaganda, week in, week out, playoff in, playoff out, trying to find ways to shoehorn more of their teams in. That's not going to stop. The 1,200-pound gorilla that is the worldwide leader when it comes to college football.
Timmy B, let me ask you this, though.
Over the media.
Have they kind of lost their bite, though? Because Bama didn't get in over SMU last year.
Yeah,
like that, I mean, have they lost a little bit of their teeth? Not saying they're going to keep doing what you're saying. I agree, dog. I agree with you 100%. But could we?
Really. No.
Maybe?
No, the reason that SMU got in over Alabama was because of what had happened to Florida State. That was a knee-jerk reaction by the committee because of what had happened to Florida State the preceding year. You know, college football still is a reactionary sport. It's not proactive, not nearly enough. If it were proactive, we'd be talking about how they were going to break away from the NCAA immediately because of what's happened and the settlement that's been made, and that they no longer trust Charlie Baker, and we're just a few years away from seeing governance completely shift away in every facet of football away from the NCAA. We're not seeing that yet. So as long as this thing is set up the way it's set up, the SEC will always dominate in the media. It will always number one, and let's give the fans a lot of credit. They live it, breathe it. We're from it.
Yep.
We're examples of it. You are, I am. We grew up on the SEC.
Yeah. Well,
and
it
I
sounds
respect
like
the hell out of its history and tradition. But I'm telling you, the bravado that's come from the Southeastern Conference over their recent run, and all of these teams that have been in potential positions to win national championships, first Bama, then Georgia, LSU sprinkled in there with that 2019 team. You know, there's enough for the media to hold on to continue to promote the what I believe is the propaganda machine of the SEC being the strongest conference, when in fact it's not.
Hey, YouTube, appreciate you guys hopping on. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you know when Crain and Company goes to college or locker room talk is dropping.